Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome guys. Today we're going to be reacting to the video. Not reacting necessarily because I'm not going to show any part of the video. You can go and listen to it if you want. Okay, so we're going to be reacting to the claims that was made by Brother Jake in his new video that the Ashari Aqeedah is flawed. Who would have thought that? Okay, and the Salafi Aqeedah is what? It's perfect. Okay, we're going to be reacting to that. So he made a video yesterday where he was talking about the Quran, is the Quran created or not? And to me, at best, it's just appealing to the opinions, the emotions of the masses. The people online that have not studied, is appealing to their emotions. Like, they believe in idols, that idols don't speak, and God does not speak. Yeah, it works when you're talking to the masses that have not studied. It works. But to people that have thought about this deeply and have gone a little bit deeper, they will know that all these are just rhetoric. Anyway, I don't want to waste a lot of time. I just want to get straight to most of the points I'm going to be making in this video. First of all these arguments that we've been discussing, to me, it all boils down to this. Do you believe that God is spatial temporal or not? That's the essence of all these arguments about all these, most of the arguments about Sifat and about, the Kalam, is all about this point. Is God spatial temporal or not? If you believe God is spatial temporal, you will become a Salafi or the Taymiyyah Salafis. If you believe God is not spatial temporal, you will follow the Asharis. It's as simple as that. Yes, we can go into details and all of that, but these guys believe God is spatial temporal. You have to understand that. If while Jake is making his argument, if somehow it makes sense to you and like, yeah, there's a part where you're missing. They believe God is spatial temporal. Do you agree with that? Some of you might not have any problem with that. The materialist, for instance, everything has to be spatial. It has to have a size. When I say spatial, do you know what spatial means? See, this thing is spatial because it has a size, it has a dimension. They believe God has a dimension and a size. They believe it. So that's the first point you need to understand. The moment you believe God has a size and dimension, and God is spatial, is temporal, it acts in succession, which we'll get to later in the video. But that's the first point. If you believe God is spatial temporal, you will follow the Salafis, and it's true. If God is not spatial temporal, which the Asharis are making the claim that spatial temporality only applies to creatures, because where did we get this notion of space and time from? From the experience of our world right now, what we have experienced so far. And what have we experienced so far? Creatures. Creatures have a size and they act in succession. We don't say that applies to God. God transcends this because God creates this. Anyway, that's the first point. Now, the second point is that many of all these Aqeedah issues, in my own opinion, it pales in comparison to the essence of what is really Asharism. Why did Imam al-Ashari, why did he leave Mu'tazilism? Is it necessarily because of the issue of Sifat or all these things? No, it's because of the issue of Qadar. And I've made this point in many of my videos. So, me, I'm not really into all of this, but to me, the most important issue is the Qadar. The issue of Qadar, relating to that, the Ashari position on that, that's why I'm really Ashari. Now, on the issue of Qadar, this is actually the only issue the Prophet ﷺ actually commented on explicitly when he was refuting the Qadariyah, that they are the Magians of our Ummah. Anyway, that's just a side point. Now, let's go more deeper into this video, okay, what he was talking about, okay. So, most of these arguments, they are emotional arguments, okay, appealing to the lay people on YouTube, the young, the naive, those that have not studied deep, those that have not thought things through. For instance, this question I asked you about spatial temporality, have you ever thought of that? Do you know, many Salafis that come to my channel, they don't know that Ibn Taymiyyah actually believed that God is spatial, that God has a size and a dimension. Many Salafis are somehow confused about this. They argue with me, which is explicitly stated by Ibn Taymiyyah's work. They are confused. And these are not just random people. These are people that have a channel and they are not sure. Did Ibn Taymiyyah really say that? So put that to understand the Salafi mindset, most of them, is that they are naive. They are very shallow in their thinking most of the time. Okay, so I'm not insulting you. I'm just saying it's true because I've discussed with many people. They don't even know that this is their position, that God is spatial and temporal. Okay, temporal part they agree, but the spatial part they kind of argue. They're not sure. Okay, so my challenge for you, anyone that watched that video and it seems to be like, yeah, that's a good point, go and study, please. Go and study. Just try. Study and then watch the video again. And then you see what I'm talking about. Now, let's go more to the point of the video that he actually talked about. How many minutes? 5 minutes. Ooh. Anyway, so he said Arabic is uncreated. These are the things that you are getting from this video. Arabic is uncreated. That makes sense to you, right? Okay, fine. See, I cannot help you if you cannot understand the falsity and the ridiculousness of that statement. That Arabic is uncreated. Language is uncreated. And there's this thing about Arabic, fixation on the Arabic, that to me is kind of weird and naive, because Arabic is not the only language that God has used to communicate with other prophets. God has communicated in Hebrew, in many languages to all the prophets before. And another thing is that you're missing is that God communicates with other beings that are not humans, that don't speak Arabic. Why do ants have to speak Arabic? No, God doesn't speak Arabic to the ant or to the dog or to all these other dabba that he has created. If God wants to communicate with them, see, there's one thing universal in all of this: communication. What is really the essence of all of this is communication. It's not necessarily fixation on Arabic, that Arabic is not created. Look how ridiculous that sounds, okay? Anyway, so it's not a specific language. It's the communication that is more important, not necessarily Arabic or language, like human and language. So in all of this, what you will see is that it's just tashbih. It's anthropomorphism, anthropocentrism. When you think humanity is the center of the universe and everything revolves around humanity, then you start saying God is like, you start describing God with the things of human. You will not be able to disassociate God from language and all this Arabic and all these things. You will think God is like that. You will think God, we are literally made in God's image. Literally. Because they believe that too. That Adam is made literally in God's image. You start believing in things like that. Do you know they believe that? Do you know that Adam is made literally in God's image? Okay, let's go to another point. So he was appealing to the common people, saying that the common people don't understand Kalam Nafsi and Kalam Lafzi. How can they understand this? Guess what? He said that we and the Asharis, we are nominalists. Do the common people understand nominalism? This, you see, some people know how to talk, some people know how to listen. Do the common people know nominalism? Let's go out in the street and start asking people, what is nominalism? Is your Aqeedah, do you believe in nominalism? They don't. So if you want to discuss scholarly matters, discuss it. Don't bring in the common people and say, the common people don't understand Kalam Lafi. Who said they understood it? That's why they go to the scholars and they explain it to them. You just called yourself a nominalist. The common people don't understand that. I'm sure many Salafis will not even agree that they are nominalists. Because they'll be like, what is that? That is bid'ah. That's the normal rhetoric. Anyway, what I saw in that video is just a masterclass of tashbih. He kept referring to himself, pointing to his own mouth, that God speaks. How can God speak? He cannot speak. And he kept pointing to his body, which is naturally, this is Salafi anyway. He's pointing to himself and saying that it's difficult to understand how a human, see, he's thinking that if a human cannot speak, it's very problematic. A human, not God. God does not have to be a human to be able to communicate with the scriptures. That is the problem. This is a flaw of all of his video. He thinks that God has to be a human in some way. So there has to be some kind of partial tashbih for it to be possible for God to speak. He didn't even say that. He just made it seem as if God cannot speak Arabic and cannot speak like human beings, then God did not say communicate the Quran to us and blah blah blah. Now another point is that there's inconsistency in being literal. So he tried to, this is the problem with the Salafi Aqeedah generally. They want to come up with this literal thing. We are just following Quran and Sunnah. But when it suits them, they interpret. When it suits them, they bring out the scholarly card. Like, follow the scholars. But when we do it, they're like, the common people don't understand. If you want to be literal, be literal. This is the problem. This is why I left Salafism, by the way. Because I saw they are not being consistent. When they want to be literal, they are literal. Even amongst themselves, they disagree on what is literal and what is not literal. So, it's just inconsistent anyway. Now, another point you guys should not miss that Brother Jake he was a Christian. See, I know he's a Muslim now, I know, but let's not forget, it has an impact. And if somebody falls into the wrong group, like a revert coming from Christianity or from other religions, The people that are online are who? The Salafis are the ones that populate the media. And if you fall into them, they will just, as a revert, it sounds so simple to just follow the Salafis. But the people that have been Muslims for centuries, or the people that have studied Islam since they were born, it's not the same. Okay, I know, okay, let me not make the arguments like that. But let's not forget the fact that he was a Christian. So don't completely disassociate that from the discussion of why he's saying God is spatial temporal. Because I know many Christians that make this kind of argument too. Okay, anyway, that's another thing. Because he starts talking about God's emotion, our view on Qadr, many Christians don't agree with it. I would say majority of Christians, they disagree with us on the issue of Qadr. Okay, they think we Muslims, we believe in God that is evil because we believe in Qadr. I'm serious. Understand that. So don't think that we and the Christians, we understand God the same way. Okay, now let's go to the point of temporal succession. He kept talking about that we Salafis, we believe God acts in temporal succession. I made a video specifically about this. You can go and watch it. Why this is problematic. But there was an inconsistency in his argument. He used the infinite regress argument. I couldn't believe it. So he's using the infinite regress argument, and yet he doesn't see how it affects his position. So he used the infinite regress argument to defend the position that he said God's actions have a beginning in time, and yet they are not created. So they are contingent but not created. So in order to establish this position, he now gave an argument that if you say that they are created by who? Created by who? There will be an infinite regress of, so there has to be a beginning. There has to be a place where we stop. Now, he doesn't see how this infinite regress argument that you just used, fine, okay, it can be applied to your entire series. Because you see, the infinite regress argument is used mostly to affirm a foundation, a beginning point that you cannot go beyond it. Now, if this is true, when you're using the infinite regress argument to affirm that God's actions are God's and therefore they are not created, do you know what it means? It means that God had a beginning. Be like, what does that mean? Because these guys, they believe, because of their temporal succession thing, they believe in an infinite past. And if infinite past is, infinite regress destroys the idea of an infinite past. Because by infinite regress, there has to be a stop. We have to stop somewhere. We cannot continue to go infinitely to the past. Okay, and I've made a video specifically about this, by the way, about the idea of temporal succession. You can go and check my channel. But the point I'm making is that he's using the infinite regress argument to affirm that God's actions are his. And funny enough, they also make arbitrary argument against the Salafi Aqeedah. Is this not arbitrary? Why do you have to say, it normally should be created, but because it's God, it's not created? And how do you prove this? By infinite regress. If you already understand the argument, you can use that same infinite regress argument to show that the past cannot go back infinitely. Okay, that's another point I wanted to make. Now, they made another point about the Greeks. Now, every Salafi should listen to this. Any Salafi out there, please understand that you don't understand the Greeks. So when you insult us by saying Sheikh Aristotle, Sheikh Socrates, they were actually the better Greeks. They were the better ones. Okay, understand this. Let me tell you. If you study history, you will understand that there were two types of Greek thought, Greek understanding, Greek religion. You see the philosophy of Aristotle and Plato and all those guys, they were actually the better ones. The ones that are actually similar to you guys is Homer, Hesiod, Zeus. Okay, Zeus. Take for instance Zeus. The Greeks, that's the god of the Greeks. Do you think the Greeks followed Aristotle and Plato? No. You think the Greeks were following Aristotle and Plato? Majority of them were pagans, polytheists, and their gods, they actually talk, they speak. In fact, they do a lot of stuff. They run Zeus and all those other gods. They were real. They talk. They are not like idols, like he said in the video. So here's an argument for Zeus that he can talk and act and even has power. He can even do many things. So the majority of the Greek people, they actually follow these gods that speak and do acts and can come down and can run and can do many things. So the analogy is that if you are saying that a god that cannot speak, this is from Aristotle, guess what? The ones that speak are just as bad. If you think that makes sense. So, for instance, there was a particular Greek philosopher, Xenophanes. Xenophanes, this guy actually believed in that there has to be one God. And he saw another thing that is important. He saw that the conception of God that many of the Greeks had is actually anthropomorphic. So Xenophanes, and to me, Aristotle and Plato and all those guys, they're actually trying to remove all this anthropomorphism, which plagued their theology. They were trying to remove it. So even though they are pagans, they were actually the better pagans. If there's anything like that, they were better than the ones that Mushabbiha, Mujassima, Zeus believing people. So what is the point you're making when you make that argument? You don't really understand that. If you don't understand this, you will think that the Greeks were following Aristotle and Plato. No, Aristotle and Plato were the anomaly. They were the anomaly that tried to actually make sense and believe in a God, not many gods that have human emotions. Okay, that's another point I wanted to make. So I think I've covered most of the videos, most of the points that I made in the video. So I refer you to my video of divine temporality. Go and see the argument I made there. And also, Brother Jake, let him continue. I saw many people in the comment section telling him to stop. Don't stop. Don't let him stop, please. Because the more videos he makes like this, is English and we can respond to it. So to sum up this video, all the arguments he made are mostly emotional. But the point is that there's problems that is attached to you affirming God being spatial temporal. If you don't understand the many problems with it, go and study. And then you will see why the Asheris don't affirm spatial temporality for God. So when we say that, we are not just looking for evidence for God and our arguments for God. So that's why we are saying God is not temporal or spatial temporal. There are many problems with it. And that is why we reject it. And Salafis, they are inconsistent in their arguments. So they will come off as if they are logical. But when you start pushing them, they'll be like, oh, we don't use logic. And many Salafis even criticize Brother Jake for using logic, by the way. So what is really their position? They don't know. Like, some of them think you can use logic. Some of them think you cannot. That is bidah. So which one are you following? Anyway, what do you guys think about this video? If you want to see more problems with God being temporal and spatial temporal, watch some of my videos on this. And I will wrap it up with that. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. See you guys later. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bye bye.